Okay, here we go. Oh, that's gonna be loud, isn't it? Let's find out.
We need more cowbell for that. I couldn't hear it. Very upset. Need more cowbell.
Welcome to Games Overboard, episode 1.
That feels awkward.
Yeah.
I wanted you to say danger.
It's our flagship
Okay,
podcast.
please don't say flagship and overboard in the same general area. I've seen Titanic. I know what happens.
I feel like there's a rum joke in here somewhere. We don't have any rum. Where's the rum gone? Oh my gosh, it actually works too. Ta-da! I'll be here all night.
So I'm PJ.
Literally, I live here.
Jack.
I'm Shanna. See, I love that you go from John to Jack, Jack to John. That's
Yeah.
why I made sure to put in your bio, also called Jack. I think it's important just to mention that we're from New England, Jack and I.
Well, yeah.
Not you.
Not me.
Well, your ancestors are from the England, the original. Your father is.
Ancestors.
Ancestors. Technically,
Father.
Isn't he an ancestor? Moving on. Your forebears. There we go. We'll go total like Witcher.
Oh,
But we're
boy.
from New England, and it's actually this is an English thing too, an actual England, not New England. If you're the second John in the family, you become Jack by default. You don't get called Johnny. No reason why. But even JFK was called Jack Kennedy,
Yep.
which got confusing when he married Jackie Kennedy. You know, lots of Jacks in that family. But we have an Uncle Johnny, so we have a Jack John.
I want to say for the record, I was being good. I was not going to make the mind-blowing joke when you mentioned JFK.
That's why I made sure to put down inappropriate jokes under your bio.
It's true.
He won't be here all night.
Mind-blowing information, that.
Oh, gosh. Anywho,
Okay, so today we are talking about probably our favorite game, even though it's not like the best game, but it's probably our favorite game to play.
I disagree. It is the best game of all board games.
And that is Betrayal at House on the Hill.
Yes, it's my favorite.
Namely,
of all time.
second edition is the one that we play the most. We haven't bought third edition yet. We're
What's
about
third
halfway
edition?
through Legacy. It's the new one that just came out like
Oh,
a
I
couple
posted
months
it.
ago.
ago.
I posted
Yeah.
Facebook. That's a good Christmas present.
We also have Scooby-Doo, but we haven't played that one yet.
Let's not talk about the Scooby-Doo. That's for the children.
True. And I hear it's kind of garbage, too.
Yes, 100% is.
Fair.
But, so the way Betrayal works, for anyone who doesn't know, it's a pretty old game at this point, but you explore a haunted house together.
Yeah, it's
and-
explorer and role-playing at the same time.
Yeah, you're moving, you're flipping tiles around, roleplay. Shanna roleplays when she plays.
You're supposed to.
And you're flipping tiles around, reacting to things that happen in the house. Almost working as a team, like you can share
You're
items and
supposed
things
to work
like that.
as a team.
Yeah.
at the beginning.
And eventually you find like
the haunt.
Yeah, you trigger the haunt. You find some kind of haunted artifact, and it ties into where you are. So if you find a book in the kitchen, then you find those two, like where they match up on a table, and that will tell you what kind of haunt has just been triggered.
Or, as the text says, it is when the house's terrible nature is revealed.
But sometimes, like, it's you're the terrible one who's lured everyone into the house and stuff like that.
Still, the house's terrible nature. You're a part of the
Sure.
house.
So, yeah, and
And your goal, really, for the first part of the game before the haunt is to make your character as powerful as possible.
Yeah.
So you can hopefully, live through the haunt.
yeah, you need to find items and build your stats
strength,
up.
yep.
And
Also reveal as much of the map as possible.
yes,
Yes.
yes. And then when the haunt starts, it's everyone versus one person. Usually,
Sometimes, yeah.
Usually, there are a couple where you have to work cooperatively. Sometimes it's teams, like 2-on-2 or something
Yeah.
like that, which is less.
Or it's you as a group against the house.
Yep, there are 50
Yeah.
different haunts in the main game, which is awesome. And then there's an expansion where it adds 50 more.
It's great.
It is great.
I do want to point out too that when, like, for people who aren't used to tile and like board building games, you start off with just the 3 base pieces. So you have the foyer, which is the longest of all the pieces. Then you have the landing for the upper story. If you get the expansion, there's even more. And then there's the basement landing.
Yep.
So you start off with just those 3 tiles, and then you flip over tiles, which is lots of fun to do.
Yeah.
I equate it to like when I like a kid in the 80s, early 90s, we had those really cool like little square puzzles, and you would like try to match the puzzle pieces.
Yeah.
What was it called? Like 6 square or like 9 square? There's some kind of name.
9
Yeah,
squares.
or squiggles. Maybe they're called squiggles.
Maybe.
Puzzle squiggles. Yeah, puzzle squares. Squiggles. I was right.
Puzzle squares.
I'm a gifted teacher, but they're called squiggles. I have them in my classroom. But it makes me think of that because you're putting it together kind of like a puzzle piece, like the squiggles out there.
But yeah, I literally taught this game in 15 minutes to my students today at my tabletop club that I run, and they had a great time. Like, we'll talk about it later, but like the game can be pretty unbalanced, and we both had both games. We had 2 games running simultaneously at 2 different groups, and both games were pretty bad, but they still had a great time, and they like could see the potential that this game has for some of its other haunts.
I think your first run through is always like kind of wonky. I think you should just
Yeah,
enjoy
we'll get
the
to
board
that too
game
when
the first time.
when we talk about stuff that didn't work. Right now, let's talk about components. So like we got the plastic figures that are pre-painted.
Yeah.
I think they're really good pieces too.
Yeah, for what is essentially mass produced, they're very good painting. Have I seen better paint jobs? Yes, but those are people spending 30 hours on a single mini.
I feel like that's the charm of them because it's supposed to be kind of creepy, like that little girl doll
Oh yeah,
holding that little teddy bear thing.
They look terrible.
She looked like she haunted right there. That's all I'm gonna say.
That's actually like this game gets a lot of hate for its minis because they're like melty. You know, like you can bend their arms and stuff. They're not sturdy.
See, I thought that was like part of it. Fits.
Part of the charm,
It fits that kind of creepy aspect.
And that grade B feel too, because it's a grade B horror
Oh,
movie.
absolutely.
You know, and so,
Well, it takes all the horror movies and puts them together.
Oh,
All
yeah.
tropes.
I compare it to like other mini-based games. Again, I've seen the gamut. It's something like Warhammer or Warhammer 40K. You can see the gamut where someone paints their own armies. Some armies I've seen look worse than the minis from House on Haunted. You can literally just like, it looks like they just straight dipped their people in a color, their minis in a single color, and added a little bit of detail. Not well. Other people spend, 30 hours on a single mini and it looks like a piece of art.
Yep.
For something where it's already pre-done for you.
Talia, it's pre-done.
Yeah.
Add to cart.
Yeah. Because I've seen also some other games that have pre-done, pre-painted minis. And again, it varies wildly between good and not so good. So this one is, I'd say, fairly middling.
Yeah.
They are of a cheaper plastic, so there's a little bit of bend and give, but that's actually kind of a good
See,
thing.
that works out when you mentioned me role playing.
Yeah.
We got some stories later, but my favorite role playing, and you got to be able to bend your arms a little bit for those role play parts.
Yeah.
I'm just
Yep,
saying,
yep.
like I think it's helpful
Because they've got a little bit of bend, they're actually pretty durable, honestly. I don't think we've broken
there's
one yet.
no fear of them breaking because
You drop on the floor.
I've
and
had a
snap.
couple Mansions of Madness minis snap because we just they're in a bag, like they're all in a bag together, and we just plop the bag down on the table, and then one of their arms snaps
There
off.
goes your legs.
Yeah. So that is one good thing about the wobbliness of these minis. How about the tiles themselves?
That's what I was going to say next. Is the art on the tile is actually pretty good. It's got some very good detail. Some of it's a little bit weird. Some of it's exactly what you'd expect. Nothing.
No, I love it. Because
it's very-
I'm that horror and fantasy person. Like that's my favorite genre to teach when I'm teaching in my classroom. So for me, like I think it fits. It hits at all of those different tropes and the aspects that you look for in a scary story. The setting is obviously the most important part when you're creating a scary story.
Yeah.
So every time you build your haunted house for this game, it's going to look different because of the tiles you're grabbing randomly.
Yeah.
So that act of randomness makes it even better. And the crazy like paintings on there, like the blood splatters and whatever, they're just so true. And I think it's so great because there are so many different stories that you can elicit again if you're role playing with this game.
Yeah.
So that's just a personal thing for me.
Yeah,
I like
especially
that.
if you study like the art in the room, like why is this thing in the corner here? And
I was going to say, mine wasn't really meant as a criticism. It's meant as a very direct thing. It's like, they're very well detailed. Again, you're not going to see a room that you weren't expecting. You're going to see things like, oh, this is the coal chute. This is what this is an old-fashioned coal chute of a house. It looks exactly like that.
Here's a creepy hallway.
Here's a kitchen. Here's a study that looks like 8 people are probably murdered here.
Yeah. Then, of course, there's a gym.
Yeah.
You gotta stay fit.
Yeah.
And then because it is like, it plays off all of these different scary and like fantastical novels, short stories, movies, you name it. You have things like what we call the Wonkavator.
Yep.
So you have that mystical
mystic elevator.
Yeah.
Which is great because it's like, oh, that's hilarious. We've seen that in lots of things.
What I would always, I don't know if we've never come across it or just isn't in this one. They missed a real good thing to have a basically like a Cask of Amontillado style basement where there's just like a wall that it's just like where it's not another room, it's just a little alcove where the body.
No, they
in
had
it.
that. And is it in the expansion? There's a basement one.
One of the event cards has like if you roll over a certain number, you find an alcove where there's like a hidden item.
Yeah,
but not like a body or
in the
anything.
basement tiles. There is one where it's you have your square tile.
Oh, it's
and
2 rooms in
there's
one.
An extra room, and so you have to like break the way through this like door, and most times you can't.
Yeah, that's right.
So there is that Cask of Amontillado reference, and a lot of the basement tiles you'll see like casks in the corner, or you are like somewhere.
You don't want to be in the basement because all kinds of terrible things.
No, the catacombs are down there. Yeah, there's the pentagram room. It's just the things you would always have in a basement. I don't know.
Yeah,
as we sit in ours right now, I don't see the pentagram room, but
Well, I mean, that's for a different
we had that in the attic.
I was going to say, that's for a different podcast.
That's for the podcast. We finished all those, actually. They're all done. Yes. So just a shout out to the Well House Exorcism. You should listen to those.
Also on gamesoverboard.com.
Yes. Sorry, but a little thing in there.
Little plug.
Little thing, yeah.
Yep.
But the tiles themselves, I think they're very sturdy.
Yes.
We've played this game a bajillion times. The initial board game that we have, the original one that we bought, I've taken it into my classroom a bunch of times. I've taken it on field trips with my students when they want to relax and play a game because it does play 6 characters easily, which I appreciate. Yeah. And then kids want to watch, so you have 6 playing and 6 more just watching and laughing over the whole thing. So and even the newer versions, the Widow's Peak version that you add in. I think that, not Widow's Peak,
Widow's Walk.
Widow's Walk, yeah. That one is also amazing, and I think the artwork got better. I think the colors changed a little bit, maybe for the pastel,
Yeah, it's usually when there's an expansion, they don't have access to the same printing press, and so the colors don't perfectly match up.
Yeah, so there's that. I like the original board game set. All the colors are really, I think, aesthetically pleasing for a scary story.
I was gonna say it's very muted. They're very
dingy looking.
Yes.
Yeah. But the new one that's more I'd say there's more hot colors and they're hot pinks, and there's also some more pastel.
It looks more
colors.
Mansions of Madness, where it looks more like art, and less dingy.
Not all of them, but many of them too. Yeah. But I think those pieces have withstood 8th graders and even younger with our kids. So I just feel like you're getting your money's worth if you buy this game for the tiles and the little people.
I do wish the tiles had some kind of texturing to them, because it's literally just cardboard with paper on it, colored paper, where I
don't think they would stack easily.
The D&D adventure game that we have, the tiles have this really nice velvety feel to them, this texture to them.
Yeah, they used some sort of overprinting on it.
Yeah.
It's very...
You're so bougie.
I am.
I was going to say, but also...
Games are a tactile experience, and I want that.
I was going to say, but also remember, House is what, I haven't seen the most recent price for Gen 3.
About $30. Yeah.
I was going to say, whereas the D&D ones for far fewer pieces...
They retail for $70,
yeah. It has more minis because it has a lot more monsters, but it's markedly more expensive for what is functionally more minis, less tiles, and a much smaller,
for sure.
See, as a mother and as a cleaner of the house, I think if there's velvety texture, it's going to get cat hair on it.
See, it's not velvety though. It just kind of has that smooth texture to it.
You're not winning me over to this. You're explaining it terribly. Anyway,
this
game is perfect. You can't.
The other key component would be the cards.
And I was just gonna start talking about because I love the texturing of the cards. They have this latexy feel and
a cardstock feel, I would say. A
yeah,
really nice
and
printed cardstock.
like they feel like really good, like the high end, like playing cards, like that.
Yeah.
It's not
Like
really
the back of the card has this
it's
textured
yeah,
feel to
it's
it.
kind of like that anti-liquid like coating that they use in like casinos.
Yeah.
That kind of feel where it's like it's designed to be durable.
Well,
That-
moving on to the
And I
cards,
love the shape
then.
too, how they're like a narrow like
They're
tarot
thin,
card. Like,
yeah.
it's like half of a tarot card cut lengthwise, which is
Yeah.
really cool.
Not the shape of a playing card at all, which
Yeah.
I like. But the just kind of like go into that section. Then I like that pretty much all the tiles when you're flipping them over when you're playing the game. I like that almost every one of those tiles forces you to take an omen card,
Yeah.
or you know like
There
like
are
an event card.
Very few that don't have a
Yeah.
symbol on them.
Yeah.
So I like that there's always that like fear of like if I go in this room, am I going to be attacked by Chucky? Possibly, you know.
Or the one where you just suddenly, black out and show up somewhere else.
That's
Yeah.
fun too.
Oh yeah.
Ugh. That can really
Or
mess
there are corpses, that are like, here, take this. You might need it. Thank you. Go back in your coffin. Like, I love those.
So, let's see. Last thing about components are the tokens, because there are a lot of tokens in this game.
There are a lot of
There
tokens.
are the pentagonal ones. There are the triangular ones. There are the hexagonal ones. There are the colored monster ones. Then there are the circular monster
Just your
ones.
pentagonal stat board.
Then there's your stat
Can
board
I discuss that? I actually do not like the stat board. They made it better when we got to the legacy game. Is that where it feels better? Yeah.
Yeah.
The initial board game we have, you have these cute little coffins that you attach onto your stats. So I like that idea and how you can move back and forth.
Yeah.
But they weren't staying on very well. They would
No.
fall off too easily. So that was my only complaint. I love the idea, the concept. I love that there's coffins instead of little arrows. It's just
The fact that they had to make upgrade packs just for those little arrow trackers is saying something.
I think it would have been more expensive for them, but I think what would have been a better solution is if they made that strip where it has your stat numbers a little bit bigger and actually have like indent cuts, so that way you have basically something that slides over and can't move.
Yeah.
Something that slides, or I was even thinking like you could even keep that pentagonal shape for your stats, but then each corner or each side would be like a little dial that you turn,
Yeah.
But then the dial could get knocked, so it'd have to be like a pretty sturdy.
I just
dial.
like that the stat bars they follow all of the stereotypes you see in
Oh,
scary
yeah.
movies. Some people are naturally smarter than others. Other guys are really strong but really stupid. I love it. It's just and his name is Ox Furries and he's strong as an ox, but he's dumb as one too.
I want to talk about that when we get into what works
What-
for the game.
The other thing about that is this is like a component / play thing. It makes a lot of sense how they've done it, where each character mini and each pentagonal
Stat card.
stat card, that's the word. The stat card is double-sided, so each mini represents two different characters that you
Yeah.
can choose between.
Possibility of 12 people total,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But the thing is when you pick a mini, even if you flip that thing, the two characters aren't that much different from each other. Mm-hmm. It's not like, from one mini to another, they're wildly different. But when you pick the actual mini, they're very
Well, it
similar.
depends. It's like Flash is super fast, and then Ox is super strong. So they're
They're
different.
both the same guy, but they're both physical.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah,
both
yeah.
then that's what he's
We have
getting.
Madame Zostra. I usually end up choosing her, but her character, the flip side, is very similar. Yeah,
Yeah.
It would have been that thing is like
I want a pentagonal stat board for the dog. I want to be the dog, and that dog's gonna win.
that dog has dog armor. That's
Yeah, that's
stronger
right.
than plot
yeah.
armor.
Exactly.
But I guess my thing is
Because
like
it's pawsome.
It's possible that there's a fan made one out there.
Well, there's also
That we
one that
could
you
print,
3D printed a couple dogs for me already.
No, I mean a stat card. I bet you someone made a fan,
probably.
like a stat card for a
But
dog.
I guess my thing is like, I like that concept, but at the same point as if you're playing with 5 friends, 5 other people, it depends on what other people pick, you might end up with a character archetype that is really not fitting your play style. Whereas if there was a little bit bigger difference between front and back of that card, you could theoretically pick just about any character and get someone that's close to your playstyle,
And
because
if you're being nice, like, yeah, sure, you can pick the characters first because you're not for it. You get stuck with like the little kids, and you're like, dang it, I don't want to be the creepy little boy in the green.
Or even something like Dune Imperium or Spirit Island, where it only has a max of 4 people, but there are like 10 characters you can pick from, and they're all wildly different. You can find, the matching one that fits your style and everything.
Because if I've learned anything from that game, is I've tried to play Ox or Flash before, and the very physical ones in that game, I don't do well. Give me a character that has high sanity and high intelligence, and I am good. I might not be able to walk, and I might cripple myself, but I know it's going to happen.
Still think.
Yes.
Oh, just wait until what happened to me today in Tabletop Club when we get to that. Because, oh, man.
But back to all the tokens. So we discussed
the
the
tokens.
pentagonal cards.
Yes.
Like, obviously, there is an issue there. I found all the little doohickeys, as I'm going to say here, for people who are like me, to be very overwhelming at first. There's a lot of things.
Yes.
There's a lot of tokens, a lot of different things you're supposed to put down. And then, depending on the haunt, you're like, what the heck? I'm going to have this tracker thing out now, too? Like, there's a lot of hardware that goes into this game.
Yeah. I'd say that depending on the haunt, like, there's not...
Oh, yeah.
Usually not, actually always not all of it will be used.
Yeah.
And usually it's a small amount. Same with Gloomhaven, which is one of the biggest games I've ever seen. It's a 23-ish pound box, but...
Yeah.
And so people are very intimidated by it, but really all you ever use is a handful of cards for the whole game.
I think you get used to it too. Like, again, the more you play this game, the easier it is to grab those item tokens versus what the.
But do you
sticker
wish like
panel
there
type
was art on them? Like, because a lot of them are just like key or lock.
See-
It's just a black tile with a word on it.
I know why. It's so that way they're multi-use. Like,
Exactly.
Yeah, you can't like get the gun token. And it's like, okay, well, there's a bajillion item tokens. Let me find the gun.
Yeah.
Like, no, I think just item 1, item 2 is fine. And the small monster versus like large monster. Like, I think to me it makes sense.
it makes sense. It's just that it's just like,
It takes some, as Shanna said, role playing.
yes, takes a
Well,
bit
the
more
best people
imagination.
can sit around a table with only paper in front of them and make the best D&D campaigns happen.
That's
so
right.
you can have random item tokens and make a fantastic game
Yep.
happen.
Yeah.
Shout out to Dangers and Dice. See, look at that. It's tossing on all of our stuff
Yeah.
here.
I was gonna say from that thing is it does take a certain level of imagination. So, and if you're well steeped in, especially like horror and science fiction, and when I say science fiction, I mean more like H.G. Wells or that kind of stuff. Like, you will just immediately kind of mentally just switch it from that instead of monster 1, that is this monster
Yep.
or that creature.
This is a zombie coming at me.
Yes, which is actually quite nice because it's more a mental bit, and I understand that being said, the tokens are just simple,
Yep.
which again makes sense from a multi-use standpoint. But I meant from an actual build standpoint, I wouldn't exactly say they're the highest quality. They're passable,
They're serviceable.
serviceable.
Yeah.
If this was something where you had a 3D printer and a lot of time and you were playing a lot of this, you could probably 3D print better ones.
Yeah.
But that being said, that's going to be expensive and a lot of space.
Well, and I think as a parent, we got kids. They spill crap all the time.
Yes.
And guess what? We still have these tokens. They
We
throw
do.
them all over
That
the
is
freaking
true.
dining room. We find them 5 years later underneath in corners.
Yes.
It's still fantastically looking.
So true.
So it's
true.
a win
So
for
true.
me.
Yeah.
All right, so let's take a break because we mostly have been I'm playing devil's advocate for a lot of it, but now let's all just get out of the positive side and let's say what didn't work, and then we'll talk about what did work and what works for us. So what does not work in
I have
this
a
game?
good. I have a good con.
I mean, there's an easy one.
I was going to say, mine is a double-sided thing here. One, because how the haunt appears can be so very, not random, but kind of random. This whole, there's so many different things that go into being the haunt. Where you are, what's around you, that kind of stuff. That means, because there are so many haunts, and so many different authors of the haunts, some of them are amazing. Some of them are just bad. They're boring. They're either boring, so horribly unbalanced to one side or the other.
There have been times when we've we're not going to do this haunt. Let's pretend that we did not
chess
roll.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of them, some of them have like this really cool like writing attached to it. Like there's this really cool story. Others are like, it's barely a sentence, and it's just like, do this now. Why? And another one's like, it's giving you like almost a page of like this really cool deep backstory. And
You can tell there must have been like multiple writers.
there are.
There
And
are,
you're-
yeah,
Because
there's
it's like,
so many
look at this
designers.
gorgeous story. Look at this crap. Okay.
And there's actually some relatively famous in that, and being quotes names. Some of them are more infamous in different groups, but there are a lot of different people that put in stories, and some of them are really good. Some of them are really crap. So this is one of those games where don't make your first or second playthrough your entire opinion of this game.
Yeah.
Play it. You have to play it several times, because if you play 3 or 4 times, you're almost likely to get one of the amazing haunts. But you're also likely to get one of the haunts that says, can we just restart the game from beginning?
I hate that one.
Yeah. And especially if you're playing with people that are more experienced in the game than you, they might have come across one of the haunts, because there are some that are
Easier to get to, I
yes.
feel.
Also, some that are infamous when you see certain things come up. Again, the chessboard. We're not doing that ever.
Oh, gee, I succeeded the haunt roll.
You
We don't
you
need
did a
to.
good job.
Nothing triggered.
Yay. Moving on. Yay. All right. So first con is, if you're looking for a short game, this is not it.
Oh no.
Some of these can take, like, they can be super short.
It can be short. Like we've had games in under
can.
45 minutes.
Yeah, but you're looking like you should plan a 45-minute game, I think, minimum.
Minimum.
Like, when I'm playing it, I know it's going to be longer than half an hour. So I tell my students, if you want to play this, you're going to start at the beginning of the period, and you're going to go until lunch. Like, it's going to take you 50-plus minutes.
Yep.
My second con is that some of the haunts can be so convoluted. And then, what we haven't mentioned is when you actually become the traitor, you have to go to a different room with your traitor's tomb and read that. And you're by yourself going, what the heck is this? And you have no one to ask for help, except for Google, maybe. Unless you have someone who comes from the good side and says, oh, I won't tell anybody what your paperwork says.
Yep.
And the rules for those can be so confusing. And depending on how you read it, I feel like you might think that you're all powerful and you're really not. Maybe you do it wrong. So I feel like my complaint is that when you become the traitor, you can't talk with your peers as to what the heck any of this means.
Yeah. That's if no one else mentions the rule book, that was what I was gonna say. Because it's so imbalanced.
There
in
can
parts.
be very complex rules. And,
Yeah. They did fix one of the biggest rules, was how the haunt is triggered. Because the original rules were you rolled 6 dice. So if an omen card comes out, you rolled 6 dice. And if the number that you roll is less than the number of cards on the table, the haunt is triggered. There's a possibility on your first roll to roll 0.
Yeah.
Which is less than that 1 card on the table.
And
So-
you can roll a 0 because the die are trick dice. There are
Yeah.
0s, 1s, and 2s only
Yep.
Yep.
on the dice. So you can't get up to it. Like, there's no
Yeah,
6.
and the dice have, I think, 2 0 sides on each die. So it's we have on several occasions rolled 0s. So they fixed that rule in the expansion and every Betrayal game after that, where you just you roll as many dice as there are cards. And if you hit a 6 or higher, then it triggers.
Yeah.
So minimum, you need 3 omen cards before the haunt triggers, which is a lot better. But even today, like with the imbalancing of it, unbalanced nature of it all, my character, I played Flash, and I just kept getting hit with all these negative event cards. I had 1 sanity point.
Yep.
By the time the haunt triggered.
And the thing is, you can't die before the haunt.
Right.
Which
so
is good.
I just sat there right above death. And then the haunt triggers, and my student walks up to me and goes, oh yeah, I'm an alien, and I'm going to attack you with sanity and take over your mind. I'm like, I have 1 sanity.
Excellent choice. I am very proud of you. Now I'm screwed.
Yeah. So I immediately lost the game. But at the very least, like, by the time the haunt triggers, you only have like 15 minutes of the game left, which is nice. So it's fun to watch that climactic battle go on. But then, with the bad rulebook, so when I died, I went over to the other game to see how they were doing because their hunt had just triggered.
Yeah.
And the house had turned into a giant tree.
Oh, that one.
And in order to defeat the tree, you had to chop out the ground floor and destroy it. And it said to do that, you would make a might roll against the room, whatever room you're in the ground floor. And if you beat the room, then you'd flip it over. And if the upper stories ever outnumbered the lower stories, then the tree would fall.
Okay.
Problem is, they never said what number you needed to beat to destroy a room.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
that's confusing.
So
Yeah.
we scoured both rule books, the traders and the survivors. Neither of them had a stat bar for it. They had a stat bar for some squirrels, and we're like, what do the squirrels even do? Like, we don't know.
Yeah.
And so we're like, you know what? The rooms have a might of 3. So the rooms will roll 3, defend against, your might attack, and if you beat it, you destroy the room. But it's things like that where you just have to fudge a lot of numbers all the time. The very first game we ever played, I became the trader, and I became a swarm of fire bats. And
Fire bats. I
remember
forgot about
that?
that story, yeah.
And my sister Jen was in the room at that time, and she's like, "Wait, does that mean you just like automatically attack me like right now?" I'm like, how about we just say you left you ran in fear to the next room? And she's like, okay, so like we moved her to the adjacent room just so she wouldn't die before she even had a turn to defend herself.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of kind of house ruling the game and fixing the game.
Which I think it's why it's one of those games that definitely had, like, additions.
Yes.
And have you heard what they said? Is there a lot of rules updates for Edition 3 then?
Yeah, they follow a lot of what Legacy did, which was they color-coded things. Like, there are secondary objectives, which are one color, and there's the main objective you have to do, which is a different color. And it's, it's in very easy-to-follow paragraphs, like, first do this, then move on to this,
Because, like I said, it's definitely one of those games that either A, they do need to update editions, or periodically when there's ever an issue that comes up, it should be a bit like D&D, where they have the people who will, like, say, oh, this is what the actual ruling is supposed to mean. Even if it's not a reprint, this is how we suggest it should run.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing.
They probably do that on Twitter or something.
There's a site called Board Game Geek, and they will post rule fixes to that. And so, new official rule books will be posted as, like, PDF files that you download.
Yep.
I don't know if they have any for Betrayal. I'm sure they do.
I have to say that, like, even with all that, it's, again, if you're working with the right group of people, we're all just pretty chill, like, we'll go ahead and make it that. We're like, I think it's a good party game.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I think that in terms of, like, because obviously there are cons to this. I'm just, again, playing, I love board games. I'm going to be the positive person here. It's true. I love this game.
It's a great game. We all love this game.
Yeah. But even with that being said, I just feel like even with those mistakes, it has such a cool concept in place, and there's something for everybody in it. So, like, if you know even a couple of scary movies, you're going to get all the references, because they don't use the words, but there is a ring in this. There is a mask in this. Like, there's an evil doll that will jump out and stab you with a knife. Like, without even using the words, you know what it is.
Yep.
And so I think it's for anybody, like anyone who loves horror or fantasy.
Yeah.
There's something in here for you.
And even if you haven't seen the movies, like, they're all part of, like, the cultural zeitgeist. Like,
Yeah.
our 9-year-old children, child, and our 11-year-old one, like, who have never seen Chucky, they might have seen pictures of it, but, like, if we
just
said,
part of
like, a
cultural
haunted
culture.
doll jumps off the shelf and attacks you, like, they would know, like, oh, that's supposed to be Chucky,
Yeah. Or they might say Annabelle. No, but close enough.
I was going to say there's a couple of, but the other big con with this game is your mileage will change drastically on who you're playing with.
Yeah.
If you have a group of friends who are really chill with each other and kind of accept each other's stranger proclivities, you'll have a better time. Now, if you're playing with people that you're not super familiar with, there are far better games to break the ice.
This is not a game for a serious player either. This is
That
for
is-
fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, this is like get yourself a glass of wine, or get some beer, get your tea, get your snacks, and enjoy it. And
Actually,
giggle.
they're called beer and pretzels games.
Yeah, this
I
is
would-
definitely
this
what it is.
definitely a beer
And I was going to say it also, even though the rules are insanely complex, if you are let's call it what it is, a little bit hammered, it's still easy enough to keep playing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I said, your mileage will very much vary on a lot of factors that you yourself can't control. What haunt you get is a big one. Who you're playing with can also be a big one. And it's also a game that, while it encourages a certain level of table talk, at a certain point, even before the haunt triggers, you're going to be doing stuff that's maybe not beneficial for everyone else, or might actively be detrimental to them if you think it's going to help you later. So you have to have a group of people who understands each other enough to say, okay, this person is going to absolutely screw us all over, but it's just who they are, and it's what we're going to expect from this game.
I feel like every time you play, your character changes because, like you said, your sanity is like down really low.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes
never had that happen
your
before.
intelligence can be super like, oh, my person's just dumb today. Like, so you can make jokes out of it. And I think, sometimes when you have a longer board game, people lose interest, especially those more serious people, and they might go off and they might, not pay attention to the board.
Yeah.
But pretty much every tile you flip over tells you to either flip over, get an omen card, or get an item card, or get an event card. And everybody wants to hear the event because it might hurt them.
Yeah.
Oh,
especially in the expansion where it's like, if you're near a window or outside...
this affects the player to your right or the player in this room. And so I think it keeps everyone invested because they don't want to get attacked by a Chucky off of a shelf.
That is definitely in design. This game is very much really well designed, even if it takes, I was going to say the average is about an hour for a game.
Nothing less than 45 minutes, I'd say.
And this is a good segue into what works best. So Jack, take it away.
Okay. You're going to have a wildly, if you have a short haunt and an early trigger, it might be a 30-minute game. Don't trust that. But
play a second time.
Exactly. Your likelihood is it's probably going to be closer to an hour, give or take.
Yeah.
What works so very well is that you can play this game 4 times. Well, maybe if you have enough time to play it 4 times in a night, more power to you.
We've gotten close. We've done 2 or 3.
Yes, and that's when we sacrifice an entire day.
Yep.
Once someone plays, let's play it again.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
It is very addicting.
A game. It is an amazing game for I want to play it again. Whereas other board games, say, a good example is another game that has a certain level of randomness, like something like Risk. Where I know you don't like Risk, I do, but even though that game is going to be different every time you play it, just because of how you roll and what you get.
Are you going to do a board game review on Risk? Because I want to be here.
I mean, we could. I actually want to do Risk Legacy, where you can set capital cities and there are countries that can be completely decimated, so you can't go to that country anymore and stuff like that.
But so
I think I'll just book a vacation that weekend.
But for something like Risk, is even though there is random and every game should theoretically be different, everything plays the same. So you might play a long game and be like, you know what, I'm good. I don't want to play it again for another couple of days. Whereas House is so good for that, we just played a game. Let's play another one, because it's going to be so wildly different, especially if you with your friends between rounds do a character shift where either everyone puts their characters back and gets a different one, or you just
flip over your pentagram.
Yeah. It's even better if you completely
or
Pentagon.
Pentagon. Right, sorry. Pentagon room, Pentagon stat card.
Even better if you actually just literally rotate everyone to the left, just you switch the entire character.
Oh, I don't want to be Ox. He's dumb.
I know, because again, it comes back to my other problem with it, is that, the character, both sides are similar enough, but it becomes a completely different game with the same rules, but a very different game.
Yeah.
What I think works well for this, I mentioned before, is just the fun aspect of it. Mm-hmm. If you are a serious person, there are people out there who are super strict about D&D, for example.
Yeah.
And they might be offended by our
Oh, they would hate our podcast.
Because we're just we're goofy, we're fun, we enjoy it. This is a board game that I always go back to. And I'm that kind of person who does not like Pandemic or Risk. I don't like those high... Shut up. I hate those high-stake games like that. I want one where I can sit back, chill, because to me, a board game should be fun. It should be immersive, but it should be an escape from reality, a good escape from reality. Mm-hmm. Like building a puzzle. I love doing that because it's something fun. It's So for someone
low,
like me,
low input
yeah, well,
required, like
I put a lot of input into my betrayal games. I get really
well, I
into
mean, like they're brain burning games
Yeah,
where
I
like
know.
you feel like your brain has had ran a marathon afterwards,
Yeah.
and then
So
there's
this isn't that, but I
Yeah.
feel like someone who is like super strict on the rules, they might have an issue with this.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
Because, well, my book says this and I should have won. Like, listen, buddy, we don't want the traitor to win, so shut up, number one. Number two, drink some more beer and you're fine. Like, I don't know. I think there's something in it for everybody. It's chill. You can play with little kids up to, adults. We've done the whole gambit of those people, you know. I feel like it's just fun, and that's what works well. Is like you can just be quirky and joke around with it the entire time.
Yeah.
And so you don't have to lose yourself and get cranky in a game like Risk or
Yeah.
Pandemic. You just get to chill.
My thing that works best for this game, I think, is just it's very thematic.
Yes.
Like if you find the junk room, you have to make a might roll to get out of the junk room.
You got stuck.
If you find the collapsed room, you need to make a speed roll, or else you're gonna fall because you
Into the
weren't fast
basement.
enough.
If you go to the gym.
And if you fall into the basement, then you're gonna get hurt because you fell down a story. Yeah, if you go to the gym, then you get to increase your strength, your might by 1.
And if you fall in the basement, you can't get back out till you find the steps. I love that. I'm stuck in there. It's fine. I'm stuck in the basement. Like, I just love
I'll
that.
explore down here.
Don't come after me. I'm fine.
Going on that idea is that if you're good at shuffling the cards, you will. I think of all the times we played it, I have not had the house look even close to the same.
No,
No.
yeah.
Ever.
Yeah, I love how, non-Euclidean, how, the house, does not match, at all. How is the second story shaped like an L, but the bottom floor is shaped like an O?
Yeah.
You don't question. You just go with it.
Yeah, I love that.
Also, as we're recording this, whenever it comes up, I'm not sure, but we're recording it in October. If you love horror movies, especially older horror movies, this is absolutely the game for you because you will find references again to Chucky, to it's a mask near a knife. Oh, I wonder who we're talking about. Halloween, anybody? And you'll old scary stories.
Lovecraft.
Yeah. It is.
Everything's in there. I love it.
Again, if you want to have a great game night where everyone's going to have a few too many beers in the middle of October, this is absolutely the game for it because it's perfectly in theme, especially if you have just a horror movie playing in the background.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. And then, speaking of thematics and everything, that leads us into our final topic, which is just our fondest memories, or just, really interesting times we've had with it. Going on with, themes, and what you were saying with the different scenarios. And it was mentioned earlier, too, is, there's one where you find a box. And then that box turns out to be the game box.
Yeah.
And so,
No Jumanji
and
here.
so you end up inside the game, inside the game, and you have to play through, you have to reset the game, but you get to keep all your items and go through the house again. and then when we played it the first time we ever played that scenario, once we beat the game inside the game, we're like, well, now we have to go and get out of the real house. We got out of the game, now we have to get out of the real house. And we played again.
Yeah.
Awful.
It was 2 hours long.
So awful.
It was great, but it was something to go through.
What was that? What when we were over when we worked at our old school? We were playing with our two friends.
That
there.
was the box one.
That was the box because there's one where the house is falling apart too. It was like Howl's Moving Castle almost.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What was happening in that one?
I don't know, but I remember it was very much like a howl and so
It was going off a cliff.
You had to
right?
push it, and we would push
Yeah.
off the table, and when you push it a certain way, tiles would fall off the table, literally.
Yeah, it was going off a cliff.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That one was really neat.
Yeah, sometimes these games, the different haunts, can be very physical. You have to do specific things. You have to move tiles. You push things off the table.
Yep.
You can flip things upside down. You have to drag body parts across tiles.
And so as episode 1 of this podcast, that's what I want this to be about, is the stories that these games make.
One of my favorites was the one where the house starts flying and you have to get out of the house. You basically have to find a parachute and get to a window or a certain hole.
And there's one less parachute than there are people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Someone has to die.
and it's not really, you're cooperating to the same point as you're not actively screwing each other over. You're just trying to get where you need to go first. And by sheer dumb luck, I'm one step away from parachute and 2 blocks from the actual thing. I'm like,
Bye.
he's like, I'm just like, hey, you guys. Oh, yeah, you need help? Yeah, that sounds great. You know, give me a second. Let me, bye. It's just like, so I sat there for like 5 minutes, watched you guys fight, trying to get around. I'm like, I don't know what you guys' problem is. I'm just
I'm gonna go get dinner now. Bye.
I'm just gently floating down, watching you all die horribly. Have fun.
And again, it's what you put into it. So, like, and I love role playing in this game. So my favorite one was when just the 3 of us played.
This is my favorite
For
story.
somehow, I always end up becoming the traitor when we play, and I don't see myself as an evil person, but I guess when I'm in those roles, I do a good job. Like, if you ever do the Whitehall board game,
Mystery.
I was good at being Jack the Ripper. Don't want to brag, but anyway. So my favorite was I was the Haunt, and I was in the laboratory, and
you
found
found a book.
the journal. Yes, and it was Frankenstein's journal, all about how to reanimate a corpse. And so again, as I have the traitor's tomb, I have specific rules I'm supposed to follow, and you guys had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
And so at one point, I kill PJ's character. Was it you, right? I killed first?
Yeah, I was the first one to go.
And you're like, okay, I guess I'll remove, because in every other game before that, you knock your person over sideways and you just kind of take him off the board. And you go, okay, I guess I'll clean up my character. I'm like, no, I need this. And he goes, why? Oh God, why? And my traitor's tomb says, like, your character has to drag the dead body all across the tiles back to the laboratory. And so there I am dragging your lifeless, like, little mini corpse across the tiles. And you're like, oh no, God, no, why?
Jack and I shared a look like she's gonna make me a Frankenstein monster.
And I'm at the other end of the house, and I'm just like, I'm not
Bye.
going to help him. Do I just leave? Can I just leave? I mean, she gets a small Frankenstein's monster, but it's not really my problem.
So that was like, that was fun though, because like I remember like feeling terrible. I'm like, I'm sorry, but I really need this. Like, I didn't know how to word, like, no, you can't take your body part away. Sorry, because I didn't feel comfortable, because I never liked being the traitor. I want to be one of the characters who's helping, like, defeat the traitor. So I always feel really, really awkward when I have that position. I also enjoyed being the leprechaun one time too.
Oh, the leprechaun.
Yeah, I don't remember much about that, but you guys are after my Lucky Charms. Like, that's the story.
I remember it was like the amount of spaces we moved is how many you could
I got to
move, and we
double.
kept double, and we kept moving like our maximum amount, and
And I
so
said-
she's just zipping around the house.
When I say don't, and I had to use, like, it said, like, use a terrible Irish accent. And if you do that, you could just zip around the place twice as fast. I'm like, oh, sorry, y'all, but I got to move moving around now, and we leprechauns are very fast. Zip, 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 zip. And I'm like, this is the best I can do for this accent. I think I'm country now. I think I'm from Australia. I don't know what I am, but I'm trying to be.
Well, it said
Irish.
make a terrible one.
I said, like, I'm doing what it says. But I enjoy that because it's like, oh, they're after me, Lucky Charms. I just remember your face because you just look so horrified. I think to myself, it's just a mini, but oh my God, you're right. I'm turning into Frankenstein.
I still love, because you can't die before the haunt, but after the haunt, it's free game. And one of our first times playing, we, the haunt is triggered, and my brother-in-law, Ray,
Oh.
uncovers an event card that says a doll leaps off a shelf and attacks him.
Yeah. So going back to that card.
Yeah, and it killed him.
He died. Chucky kills him, like, right as the hunt begins. We're like, Ray, good job. And he was so upset. I'm like, I'm really sorry, Ray. I'm sorry the doll killed you.
Never trust a doll. I've been saying this for years.
Oh, that's crazy.
And I just love, like, going back to the thematics of it all. Like, my favorite 2 cards, because it's a duo of them, where, like, you see your reflection in the mirror, and it writes in the mirror, this will help, and it hands you a card. Or it hands you an item, and then you draw an item card.
Yep.
But then there's another card in the deck where you see your reflection, and you write on the mirror, this will help, and then you have to discard an item card.
Yeah.
And so it's, 2 sides of the same coin, and I love when they put that kind of care into the design of it.
I also like the item cards where you have to, like, make the decision to be good or bad. Because, like, there's the blood dagger. You have to make a choice, like, am I going to do this or am I going to not use this item? Because you have to give to get some things and for some of those items. So I just find that really interesting. And there's always, like, the potions that you can drink, and it could kill you or it could give you great things.
There's the one where I was trying to build a bomb. and blow everyone up. Do you remember this?
You had the worst rolls. I remember you like
I had the worst rolls, and so I'm like, you know what? You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna hop in the Mystic Elevator. So whenever they get near me, I'm just gonna bolt out of there and take the Mystic Elevator to a different story in the house. And you know what I rolled? I kept rolling the same floor that everyone was on, and so they just tossed a stick of TNT in with me
TNT
and freaking killed me in the elevator. That I refused to leave because I thought it would be my salvation.
Well, and like if you have the pistol, you can shoot from like 2 rooms away. So we stayed
you're
that
just
far when we
shooting at
shot
me.
through. Yeah. It was so easy. I just remember you going, "Come on!" Like every time because again, like on our end, we can't read your book, but we can see that you're not doing well with whatever it's telling you to do. Oh, I love when things don't work out.
Which is all the time.
I was gonna say one of the ones where I was the haunt. I can't remember which haunt it was, but it's just like every one of my rolls nowhere near. And I'm like, I just need to do something simple here. I literally just have to just stop you guys. That's all I have to do. Yeah, nope.
I think like when that kind of stuff happens, though, it makes for a better story and you enjoy it more.
Oh yeah,
You know, like
yeah.
dragging your body across the tiles made for a fun story. Like it's timeless. We're not going to forget that. Me having a terrible Irish accent makes for a good story.
It's why when we play D&D, I kind of love having negative stats.
Oh, yeah.
Because it just makes for a fun story, you know? Or with one of my characters who had pretty good stats, but
Just bad rolls.
terrible rolls, and so he ended up being an idiot anyways.
Like Owen for the one-off. He gets struck by lightning twice. Like, you know.
I was gonna say, it's just like Gaius is super dumb. It was just like he keeps having all these good things happen to him, primarily by blind luck and like, oh, I know how people think, so I'm just gonna play on that, and somehow he gets what he wants.
Well, in like this game, you could possibly have so many item cards because you just got lucky with your tile flips.
Oh yeah.
That you forget you have certain things, and so you'll go through the haunt and you go, "Oh, I forgot I had the feather. Oh, come on." So things you could have used, but you can't retcon. So it's like, well, you could have used Redem, but you didn't. So. But I think like overall, I think it's a fun game. If you're really trash, it's even more fun.
Yeah.
But if you're a rule stickler, you're not gonna like it.
For sure. And if you are afraid of having like a bad experience, you're not going to like it because you will, when playing this game, you will have a bad game at some point. It may not be your first game, but you will at some point if you play this game, you know.
Yeah, I would say do 3 games bare minimum to see how much you like it, and get the expansion, at least one of the expansions.
There's only one.
There's the third one coming out soon, right?
There's the new edition.
It's a new edition. Oh,
yeah, it's a whole new game.
More haunts in the
50
house.
more haunts. Yep.
Okay, that'd be my advice. Play with people you know, especially the first few times you play. Play with people you know. Again, go in just saying, you know what, I'm not going to take this seriously. I'm just going to have some fun with it. And early when you're playing the game, experiment with the different characters because you'll find one that matches your play style.
Yep. There's one person I always use, and when I don't get to use her, I get cranky.
Yes. Because I think it's the little girl who has an insanely good sanity.
Both of the children, which again, thematic, like, because little kids are the ones that, like, you know, like, historically can see specters and stuff, and they deal with it better than adults.
But they got little legs.
So their speed is low, their might is low, but their sanity is through the roof, because that's how kids are.
It's just like, oh, this doll is talking. I talk to the doll all the time.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
Play, again, 3 games at minimum in a short period of time, within a week.
And start the game early. If you're having a board game afternoon, start this one right away. That way, if it's going to be like a long one, like an hour, you won't get burned out. So
and if it's a short one, or if it's one that everyone likes, then you have time to play it again.
Yeah.
Or if it's a lead into a bigger, more serious game, you know, even though it'd be good to do afterwards as like wind down from a brain burning game.
If it is a wind
it
down,
might be a long one.
Yeah.
So do it first.
Do Animal Upon Animal for a wind down.
Yeah, there are a lot of good filler games out there. Snake Oil.
Munchkin.
Oh, don't say that around the board game hobby. We're one of the few groups of people who actually like Munchkin. Like that game is universally Monopoly hated. People hate that game.
I hate Monopoly, but I like Munchkin. Mm-hmm. Mostly because we joke around about our characters. Again, we role play our characters.
Yeah.
So.
And again, we don't take anything too seriously.
Yeah.
Because the rules are trash.
Yeah. I'm sure we'll get to Munchkin at some point, but like the big complaint people have is you get to level 9 and then it's just take that card after take that card. And you know, just blocking people from getting to level 10, and that's all a game is every time you play. And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, that's true, but
it's fun to screw-
that's what you're signing up for.
Yeah, like, you
Yeah.
do those kinds of things. If
Yeah.
you're playing Uno the wrong way, that's what you're doing too.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the best way to play it.
That's
Exactly.
fun. That's because I think we might also be sociopaths. Should probably
But
worry
I feel
about
like this game, I think, epitomizes us because we're just chill. You know,
Yeah.
just like our D&D campaign is chill. That if our house was haunted and we're still pretty chill. Yeah, like it's just that's who we are. You know.
that. I was trying to think of some other good advice for it.
I guess that could be while you're thinking. That could be our tagline. If you like our D&D campaigns, you'll like Betrayal. If
Yes.
you hate the way we play D&D, don't play Betrayal.
Yeah.
That's how we're gonna put this.
That's a good tagline
Yeah.
for this episode.
I was gonna say it is definitely also, again, if you're having a board game night where you're playing a couple of different board games, this is definitely a great one to start early on because it gets you in. You know, you're playing this board game. It's fairly complicated, but at the same point, everything is so just over the top that you're just like, anything I play after this is just going to be simple.
It's a good way to make friends too.
yeah.
Like, let's say
Yeah.
like we invite a new friend over, and they want you to meet the group, kind of thing. This is a good way for you to meet the group. I think.
Yeah.
Because it's low key, it's fun, it's ridiculous. You get to role play. I don't know. It's just you can talk around it.
It depends because we had one person who was new to the group, and we introduced it to them, and they're just like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do, and they would not like attempt it.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, like maybe this was a bad pick for you.
Actually, coming into our other sides of things, this is a great one if to bring someone over that you're thinking about adding into a D&D group. Have them play this a couple of times with you
Yeah.
guys to see how you guys work together.
Yeah, that's true. Again, there's that role playing, that like that camaraderie.
Yeah,
I like that.
that, and also, I one of the things that's just so great is, again, I took some time to read a lot of some of the scenarios that are popping up in there just because I was familiar with some of the names of the people that wrote, and I'm just like, some of them are real weird, just bizarre. It's definitely a game that you should not take too seriously.
For sure.
Again, especially second edition, some of that rule book is real bad. So you kind of have to create rules that make sense.
Are we doing a wind down now? We do the wind down.
Yeah, we're just doing overall thoughts is
All
what
right,
we're talking
so
about.
last minute kind of thoughts. So if we went the bullet point version, we like the game overall. It's
So
fun.
I'd say we love this game.
Oh, well,
love
I
this.
love the game,
I
but
do
I don't
too.
want to put words in your mouth.
I do too. I love this game.
We really do appreciate how all the pieces have been created. While some people may like a little texture to their tiles, I like the tiles. All the things are very durable.
I just wish the pentagons were.
Yes, only con that I see would be some people don't like the minis. I think they fit the aesthetic of a scary story. The original pentagonal stat cards have an issue with the tombstone markers, but overall, I mean, I think it's a good game. It's a long game, so 45 minutes to an hour.
It's a
Yeah.
good
That's
entry game
your
into
bullet
yeah.
bullet point here.
I'd say it's a good entry game into hobby games.
Yes.
Good way to like learn a game that's not roll your dice and move that many spaces. Like this is a good intro to that kind of mechanic, getting away from that.
Yeah.
And also just the storytelling aspect of games that you don't see in mass market games like Life or
Yeah.
things like that. Something where as long as you're comfortable being loose with the rules and the fact that it's not going to work every time, as long as you're okay with that, and know that going into it,
Yeah.
you're going to have a fun time with this game.
Yep.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, like, some of them are so heavily geared towards the trader or the survivors winning or
You're
losing.
supposed to win
Or
lose,
just
yeah.
where the house is laid out.
Exactly. So
things
as
like
long
that.
as you're not like, I need to win. If you're one of those people who's like, I need to win this game, like, and you're strategizing 18 moves ahead, this
Yeah.
is not. This is not chess. This
No.
is. There's always a joke. Some people are playing checkers. Some people are playing chess. This game is a lot more checkers. Like, you're gonna have fun. What you do one turn is not gonna affect what you do 2 turns later. It's a lot more loose.
When
Yeah.
some of the haunts you're supposed to lose. So
Yeah.
even after you like beat the haunt, there'll be a little caption there that says, "But then this happens and you all die."
Yeah.
Like you're supposed to lose some of them.
Yeah.
That's just how.
I mean, in keeping with like the horror theme, there are the amazing ones like The Shining, and then there's Freddy versus Jason. And this is definitely more Freddy versus Jason.
I was going to compare it to the later Leprechaun movies, where they are ridiculous,
Ran out of ideas.
ridiculous, over the top, not at all serious, not even scary, but just fun.
Yes.
And if you play a game and you don't break up laughing a few times,
You did it wrong.
you've done something wrong, or you have a group of friends that is not made for a game.
You
like
all need
this.
to get out Pandemic.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Risk.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you don't play this game and laugh a bunch of times, you need to play a more hardcore game. You need to be playing,
Monopoly.
I was gonna say Pandemic is a golden example of that.
Ugh.
Yep.
Ugh.
Or keeping with the horror theme, like Cthulhu Death May Die.
Yes.
Which is made by the same designer, and it's the climax of Betrayal at House on the Hill. That whole battle thing, but that's how it starts. And it's that the whole way through, along with solving puzzles and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's it's much more rules heavy, but it still has that fun action to it. But if you're a rules person, but you still want the fun, that's a good game for you too.
Yeah. Again, fun, absolutely is the key word I would use for House. It's fun. Is it the best design game? No.
But you gotta go buy it and take it to your Halloween parties this fall.
Absolutely. And now third edition though, you have to paint the minis.
No.
And I'm pretty sure it's only 5 players instead of 6.
Trash.
I was gonna say, so yeah, second edition, again, you will have a lot of fun with it. You can find it for cheap right now. If you look online, probably, if I looked on Amazon,
I'm gonna go on Amazon.
you can probably get it really cheap. And for what is the cost of, maybe 1 or 2 lunches,
Yeah.
less than, what it would cost to get pizza for everyone playing, you can
Definitely less than the pizza with the cost of pizza right now.
yeah, you can get a game that's a lot of fun, and you'll be able to replay it infinitely. That's a thing in.
Second edition is $33 on Amazon right now.
It's still 33.
On here it is.
Okay.
Well-
Still not bad. Not bad at all.
Widow's Walk is $18.50.
Baldur's
that one
Gate
a
is fun
That
just
one
because
is
I love D&D, but there are some weird things about Baldur's Gate that
Yeah,
it doesn't
like
merge as well.
instead of stories, there's the streets, there's indoors, and there's underground.
Yeah.
The sewers, and so trying to match those up is that
but-
just took some getting used to.
But I was gonna say for House, I'm used because I come from more video games more than anything else. There's this concept of replayability. It's like if you're gonna put the money in for a game, how many times are you gonna be able to play it and have fun? This is a game where, I mean, I've probably played it about a dozen times. You guys have played it more than I have.
And there's still like so much,
And there's
that we
still so
haven't
many
seen.
haunts we haven't touched. There's still so many random stories that
There's a
haven't happened.
dragon in one of them.
Yeah.
I want to see this dragon.
So yeah, it's very much worth the cost, even if you have to pay the 30 something bucks for
Yeah.
it. It's a lot of fun.
Found a
Definitely.
new card game for you. All right, so
boy.
when we're done, I'm going to show it to you.
So yeah, again, I honestly, and that's another thing we should probably touch on is cost thing. Honestly, for about 30 bucks, and we'll say 50 if you get the expansions, 50, 55, somewhere in there. You'll play this game if you have friends that do it. You're gonna play this game a lot.
Oh, you get your money's worth. For
Oh,
sure.
absolutely. It's definitely worth it because compared to other games, it's not that expensive for what you get.
Yeah.
So honestly, I would say it's definitely worth.
I'd say go out and buy it and love it, just like me.
I mean,
It gets a 10 out of 10 for me.
I'm gonna say it gets a 10 for fun. It gets about a 6 for well-designed rules. All in all, it is definitely a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And if you take it seriously, you're gonna hate it, and it's not worth the money. But if you can have fun with a game and just let's see what happens, it is absolutely worth playing.
10 out of 10 would recommend.
I would definitely recommend.
Definitely. Well, thanks for listening, everyone, and that'll wrap it up for Betrayal House on the Hill. Next time, we will be doing Sniper Elite, and Dan will be joining us.
Not us. I won't be here.
Okay. Dan will be joining Jack and I if Jack wishes. And
I'll have to play it.
Oh, there's a fire.
It's been going on since
Yeah.
like 3. Like it's.
Sorry for this twice now, but this is insane. What's happening?
I know, right?
Don't know.
Dun, dun.
Thank you for listening to our first inaugural episode of
And thank
Games
you for
Overboard.
having me. Thanks for stopping by.
Games Overboard.
What?
All right, thanks everyone.